My name is Alexandra Martinez, and I will be talking about Mexicans and Mexican Americans in World War II, specifically those who served in the military. World War II. World War II began on September 1st, 1939, and ended on September 2nd, 1945. This international conflict involved two military alliances known as the Allies and the Axis powers. The Allies included Great Britain, the United States, and Russia, and the Axis powers included Germany, Italy, and Japan. World War II was an opportunity for financial prosperity and to be seen and treated as a, quote, first-class citizen, end quote. Being Latino in the military. Latinos were considered white by law, but were otherwise treated differently by their Anglo peers. By being classified as white, Latinos were able to serve alongside Anglos. In fighting for Caucasian rights, Mexicans, Mexican Americans, in the Transnational Struggle for Civil Rights in World War II, Texas, by Thomas A. Guglielmo, it says, quote, on the one hand, all federal and Texas state laws either accepted people of Mexican descent as white or refrained from explicitly defining them as Negro or colored. Therefore, Mexicans were entitled to naturalize as free white people. End quote. GI Bill. Quote, in 1944, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed into law the Servicemen Readjustment Act, known colloquially as the GI Bill. This act provided a path for World War II veterans to access higher education, an opportunity once reserved for the rich. The GI Bill was the long-awaited opportunity for many Mexican Americans to receive the education they were once deprived of. The GI Bill represented a way to build a strong foundation for all veterans, which included getting an education. In Latinos, in World War II, Mobility, Agency, and Ideology by Maggie Rivas Rodriguez and B.V. Holguin, and mentions the experience of Ramon Rivas, an Army veteran from Charlotte, Texas. Quote, he explained that in Charlotte, Latino students remained in separate Mexican schools until the 4th grade, after which Mexican and Anglo students attended the same school. However, he said that Mexican students never made it to the integrated schools because Mexican students will start 1st grade, stay there 2 or 3 years, and then go to 2nd grade, then stay there like that. The decision to repeat a grade was given solely to the teacher. Parental involvement was limited. End quote. Mexican Americans in the military. With this topic, I believe that these people were essential to understanding their role in the military. I'll introduce a few Mexicans and Mexican Americans whose contribution to the significant events are remembered due to the challenges they faced and the skills they contributed to the war. Corporal Anthony Acevedo was a Mexican-American medic in the United States Army. During his time in France, Acevedo, along with his unit, was taken as prisoners of war and sent to Stalag IXV in Germany, but was later transferred to another camp known as Vergel. Quote, Acevedo was one of 350 American servicemen in Bad Orb chosen for transfer to the Vergel slave labor camp, part of the Buchenwald concentration camp system. The men were chosen because they were suspected of being Jewish or were classified as racially undesirable by the Nazis. End quote. During this time, Acevedo kept records of the conditions of the men in the camp along with the dates of death of others. After being liberated, Acevedo and the other prisoners of war were, quote, made to sign a gag order about this particular experiences. They were threatened with imprisonment by the U.S. government should they speak about their treatment under the Nazis. It took decades before a story would be exposed and publicized, end quote. Despite the hardships he endured during and years after the war, Corporal Anthony Acevedo was able to recuperate. Eventually, quote, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum recognized Anthony Acevedo as the first Mexican American on the Benjamin and Vladka Mead Registry of Holocaust Survivors, end quote. This information comes from the National World War II Museum, Anthony Acevedo, Mexican American POW survivor, and was written by Kim Guys. And as you can see, this is Mr. Acevedo in his uniform. Sergeant Jose Mendoza Lopez was born in Mexico but later moved to Texas, where he spent the majority of his life. In 1942, he was drafted to the army and later sent to Normandy, during which he got injured but refused to leave the battlefield. On December 16, he fought against German forces in the Battle of the Vosges by single-handedly fought against enemy fire with a machine gun. Quote, machine guns were operated by a team, with several men responsible for relocating the heavy weapon, its tripod, and the copious amount of ammunition required to make the weapons team effective, end quote. Because of this, Mendoza Lopez received the Medal of Honor and also la Condecoración de Mérito Militar, the highest military award given by Mexico. This information comes from the National World War II Museum's Sergeant Jose Mendoza Lopez Medal of Honor and was written by Kali Martin. Thank you for your time and hope you learned something new.